Hello everyone, Nigel Saunders here of KW Bonsai. Today we're going to be working on our small leaf Schefflera bonsai. We're going to be reducing the size down to a compact form again. In the previous videos we'd been letting the top grow to encourage the formation of aerial roots. And we've been doing that since about, I think it was midsummer last year. So we've got lots of aerial roots now, so it's time to get the tree back to a compact form and get it back to looking like a bonsai tree. Our first operation will be removing all the leaves off the tree so we can clearly see the structure, and then we can reduce the structure down to a nice rounded profile on top and get it structurally back to where it was. So I'm just going to come in and scissor prune each leaf off. I'll leave a little bit of the stem still attached to the tree. I'm doing this operation now because the tree's been out in the greenhouse for quite a while now, and it's kind of gotten used to the the brighter sun out here, or the more sunshine, and the temperatures and everything, the humidity levels. So it's kind of stabilized. It did get quite a bit of sunburn on top, but so it's due for another growth period. I think in the next week or two, I can see some of the stems, they're getting bright green, where some new leaves would come out, or branches. So it's due for its next spurt of growth. So I want to remove all these leaves and trim the structure down before that new growth spurt starts. So that new growth spurt, instead of going into producing leaves at the end of these long stems, it'll produce the leaves down where I want them, down lower. All these long stems and leaves have done their job. They've grown a great aerial root system down below, and we'll have a look at that later on. So it's time to get them removed and start working on our structure again. I have a video on growing aerial roots, so if you have any questions about aerial roots, just have a look at that video, and hopefully it'll answer most of your questions. Again, the article's kind of geared towards growing aerial roots in non-tropical climates, so if you're in a tropical climate, you probably get too many aerial roots anyway, more than you know what to do with. But here in Canada, it's kind of rare to get aerial roots. So we're going to continue on leaf pruning, removing all the old leaves, and we'll come back when that operation's done, and we'll have a look at our structure and then decide what we're going to do with it. I've got the tree defoliated now, so you can kind of see more of what's going on with the structure and all the long shoots we have to prune back. I'll show you a close-up of what the roots are doing so you can see what's been developing over the winter. So here's the roots. We've got a nice clump of prop roots here, one back here. There's one in here that's nice. A big long hanging one coming down from the way up in the canopy. There's another one forming up there. I don't know if you can see it here. Lots of roots on this side. There's a lot of roots that are forming that some of them haven't reached the ground and some of them may not, but this tree will be growing aerial roots for most of its life once it gets a good canopy on top. You can see some of the ones that struck early into the soil here. They're really woody and getting thick, so they're really doing the job as a prop root which supports the branches as they spread out from the center of the tree. Here's an overhead view of the branch structure. So we've got lots of pruning to do. Because the canopy is gone now, the roots are kind of exposed to the sunlight, so I'm misting them quite often just to get them keep them moist and growing. So we're ready to start our structural pruning, and the big question is, well, where do we start? There's several approaches we can do. What I like to do is, on a planting like this, we want to pick our highest point on the planting, which is our apex. So we're going to have a rounded umbrella style canopy on this tree. So we want to pick the height that we want the apex to be, so the highest point on the tree. And I think it's going to be right here. We've got, if we look at the old leaves, we've got one facing forward here. So at the base of each of these leaves we have a bud that'll extend in the direction of the leaf. So I think we want the apex to come a little more forward. We've got a nice branch off here and one out the back here. So I think we'll take it off right here, like that. And that'll be the highest point on the tree. We can also look for things like obvious branches, like these two branches here. They cut in front of the view of our main tree in the center of the planting. So we probably don't want those at all. I'm just looking at it from the front view now. And yeah, they kind of distract you from the main tree. I've removed a branch here in previous cuttings, in previous videos, just so we get a nice clear view of the main tree. But there's another one that's grown in there, so I'm going to remove that. I'm going to leave a little bit of a stub just in case we get some growth in a nicer direction, so we may be able to use it at one time. And I don't like this one crossing in front, so we are going to take that one off to here. That's a long leaf, or long branch. The reason I'm leaving stubs is if something grows in a nice direction here, we may be able to use it. We can always prune back to, a flush cut later on if I decide, I just don't want a branch here at all. So we're kind of keeping our options open, which is what you want to do in bonsai. Sometimes if you keep this stub and maybe a branch dies, you can regrow it from the stub you kept. So it's always nice to have, some safety in bonsai, because you never know what will happen. So I'm going to continue pruning. I'm keeping in mind my highest point here. So we're going to prune some of these down. I'm going to prune this one to here. And you remember, it's just not a 2D profile. We're curving it front to back and left to right. So this is the highest point. We're going to be tapering down in height as we come towards the front and also towards the rear. So I think I'm going to take this one down to I think here. I'm trying to do directional pruning as I prune, looking for leaf scars that are pointing in the right direction. Always trying to imagine our rounded canopy and keeping in check with that. Long branches. We can always prune longer at first and then go back and look at the profile of the canopy and shorten and trim things back. So that's kind of what I'm doing, is leaving some of the shoots maybe a little long for now and then coming back in and refining it. You can see as the plant gains vigor, our internodes between our leaves gets longer and longer and longer. So you know, we want to prune a lot of this back to our tighter internode growth, so you know, we get leaves close to each other rather than leaving it long where the leaves are very far apart from each other. This operation of cutting back, leaf pruning, should only be done on a healthy tree that's well established. If your tree is weak and sickly, you don't want to do this. You want to get your tree's health back before you perform any major operations like this. The stronger your tree is, the more work you can do on it. So I'm around back now and I'm still looking for the same things, pruning to my rounded canopy and leaf pruning to scars in the right direction. You can see the rounded canopy starting to form now. You kind of have to use your imagination a bit when you're doing this. Okay, let's go back up front and have a look at it. So looking at it from the front, I think we're still too high on the canopy. We've got too many straight sections sticking up, so I think we want to prune it down even lower. The lower the planting is, the bigger the trunks will look. If we grow them tall and spindly, it won't look as thick on the trunk, so we want to keep it fairly compact and low. So let's have a look at our apex again. Looking at the apex, how low can we go? Well, our straight section starts here, our new growth. There's a leaf scar on the outside here, we could go to there. So there's our new apex height. So we'll have to prune everything accordingly, or as close as we can anyway. Smells good, this. As I'm pruning away, it has a nice smell to these trees. It's subtle, but it's almost like a lemony, limey smell. Really, really nice. Yeah, that's a better height, so I just got to prune the right-hand side still, and some more work on this left-hand side. So I'm continuing pruning to our rounded canopy shape, our umbrella canopy. Getting very close now. Here's how the tree's looking at the moment. We've kind of got our profile to our rounded canopy, you know, rounding it left and right, front and back. So now we've got to look for structural flaws. So if we go up top here, you can see this shoot sticks way out from all the rest. So that's got to be shortened back. There's some branches. If you look at these two branches here, they're coming pretty close to each other. Again, I don't want this planting to be perfectly symmetrical and too orderly, or it just looks like an artificial tree. So I'm going to leave this for now. It looks good from the front. It's not, you know, it's a little congested in that area, but it gives some naturalness to the planting. I want to keep some flaws in it. I do want to prune flaws that will become future problems. For instance, here I've got a branch that crosses over a major trunk. If I cut that off and something grows in a better direction, that would be better off for the long-term future of the tree. Things like that. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to go in and look at the structure of it. I don't think there's a whole lot that needs doing, but you know, maybe some like this shoot here. You know, it's to the right profile, but it's a little straight. It doesn't really have any movement to it. So that could be pruned back further, and we could, you know, slowly develop that shoot back to the profile again. So that's what we're looking for. You know, obvious flaws, sections that are too straight, sections that jut out from the profile, and, you know, crossing things. Yeah. So I'm going to fix those and we'll come back. So I'm done my pruning. In the end, I've got quite a pile of leaves and quite a pile of stems. Looks like a bunch of asparagus. And over here we've got our tree. So I fixed some of those structural flaws. I wouldn't say I've got everyone, but you can kind of see it's in reasonable shape now. I finished cleaning up the moss. I can't clean it up around the aerial roots too much yet, but I did what I could within reason. I gave the tree a really good watering now that I can get in and water it all more easily without all those giant leaves in the way. So that's it for today. We've got our banyan style Schefflera pruned back down to size. A major operation that I've been looking forward to doing for a long time. The next step is to let the leaves grow in, the new leaves, and then we'll be pruning in a different style. We'll be pruning for ramification. That's all for today. So Nigel Saunders of KW Bonsai. Do something green today. Recycle something. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.